So then that brings me into, I think, the biggest tip of this entire video, which is hey, it's Ashley Sanye and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be creating a video talking about my advice for students who want to transfer colleges. This is not necessarily my feelings on me transferring. This is more like the steps that I advise people to take or advise people to do while transferring, because this transferring process can honestly be confusing and frustrating if you're not asking the right questions or looking at the right things. So I just wanted to go ahead and make a video of what I learned in my transfer process that helped my transfer process go a little bit easier. So first things first, know why you're transferring. I went to a smaller name school, Kennesaw State University. There's a couple things that I didn't really feel like I was getting from that school. First off, it was really close to my parents, so I didn't really feel like I left for college. Like, I didn't really feel like I had that experience. Also, as I went on, I did some internships while at Kennesaw State. It took me on this whole track to realize that what I really want to do is public relations. And when looking at Kennesaw, they didn't really have my major, or it wasn't that established. And so I now transferred and I go to the University of Georgia, go Dogs. They have one of the most robust and honestly one of the best public relations schools in the nation. UGA alums love to help UGA students. So that's one of the big reasons why I went to UGA. So it was one, I really wanted the name. I wanted to go do that big school. I wanted to tell people, but honestly, most importantly, I went for my major. Make sure you're transferring for reasons that make sense to you. And then that takes me to my second point, which is choose a college that works best for you. So like I said, I chose the University of Georgia because of the public relations program that they have. I had to be real with myself and know that UGA works best for me, works best for my goals and what I want, and I have to stay true to that. So in looking for what school works best for you, if it's possible, go and visit the schools, because it's not just having the major that you want. It's also, do you like the area that it's in? Do you like the town? Do you like the physical school? Transferring is a big transition in your life, going from one place to another. And of course that depends on where you're coming from, but going from Kennesaw, which is a couple minutes away to my parents, to moving to school an hour and a half away, like, I have to wake up every single day in my own room and get myself up, go to class, spend time there. So I have to at least like it a little bit in order to survive. One thing about UGA that I'm not the biggest fan of is their party culture. Like, I'm not the biggest like downtown bar hopping kind of person. That may not have been my favorite thing about UGA, but I'm there because of my major. So my major outweighs that part of UGA that I'm not the biggest fan of. So you have to make sure you are where you want to be. This takes me to probably the most important section of this entire video, and that would be classes, transferring credits. There's like a lot of little pieces in this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and try and break it down the best way that I can. First off, by saying that every college requires a different amount of college courses in order to transfer. So for example, the University of Georgia, you have to have 30 undergrad credit hours in order to transfer to UGA. I didn't transfer to UGA until after my sophomore year, so I had plenty of credits. Like, I matched that pretty easy. But as a freshman, that means that you have to take 15 credit hours your first semester of college and 15 credit hours your second semester of college in order to even be eligible to transfer to UGA. And on top of those 15 credit hours, they can't just be any credit hours. They have to be credit hours that transfer to the University of Georgia. Every school is different, so make sure after you've chosen your school, the school you want to go to, make sure you are on the website looking up how many credit hours they require, if they require certain classes in order for you to transfer, if there are any classes that you need to take or any way that you need to grind. So say you're in a position where you didn't get into the college that you wanted to, make sure you know what it takes to get to the college you want to and allocate your classes accordingly. That might mean, to make your life easier, you decide to take, 2 summer classes, and if they're 2-3 credit hour summer classes, then you have 6 hours already. So now you only need to take 12 hours in the fall and 12 hours in the spring, and now you have your 30 hours in order to apply for the University of Georgia to get into fall. While we're on that topic, I mentioned that you have to make sure you have classes that actually transfer from one school to another. And if you haven't really been in college, that may not be all that clear. Going for the example of UGA. UGA does not accept all classes from all colleges. So for example, if I take econ at Kennesaw State University, the University of Georgia may not accept that microeconomics class as a class. Like, it may not be transferable, meaning those 3 credit hours that I took from microeconomics don't count towards the 30 credit hours that I need to get into UGA, because UGA doesn't count that as a class. Make sure you know what classes transfer. The more underclassmen, like first 2-year classes, the simple ones tend to be more transferable than, like, say a high level macroeconomics class or a very specific class. Those are hard to transfer because typically schools want you to take their version of that class. But just make sure that you are taking classes that transfer to another school. So then that brings me to, I think, the biggest tip of this entire video, which is call everybody. When I was going through this process of transferring from Kennesaw to Georgia, I was on the phone every single day. I didn't just go off of my own, like looking at the website and being like, oh, well, I think this class transfers. Like, I didn't want to think anything. I wanted to know. I wanted to know that this class transferred up to this class, or I wanted to know where I stood when I changed over to UGA, because the worst thing you could do is think that you're doing something good for you, or think that you're taking a class that you need to, and then when you're applying for UGA and they're looking at your transcript, they're like, sorry, you don't have enough hours, or this just doesn't work, or we don't accept this. And then now you're like, have to wait and apply and get in spring instead of fall. What I did was call the Office of Admissions and at UGA, and I basically said, like, hi, you know, I'm trying to transfer to UGA and I just want to talk to someone to make sure that all of my classes and everything are squared away. And I already checked, because UGA has this website where you type in your college, the class you took, and it'll show if it transfers to another class. So I already saw what I thought would transfer and what I thought wouldn't transfer, but I still wanted to make sure that it would. So I called and talked to them about what was in front of me. And for me, it wasn't necessarily transferring to get into UGA, because like I said, I had more than enough credit hours. Mine was making sure that when I got to UGA, I could apply for my major, because that was a really big deal. And I even took it one step farther, and I actually scheduled an appointment and drove up to UGA and sat down in this woman's office and got my unofficial transcript that just had my classes and their names and blah, blah, blah. And together we went through it. I basically had her check off what I had and sign it off to make sure that I was taking the right classes to get into UGA. And what was really cool that I found out when I went to actually go sit down with her was that if I was core complete at Kennesaw State, then I was core complete at UGA, meaning I could go straight into my major and I didn't have to make up for little classes. Because I had some like math classes that weren't transferable to UGA. I thought I was gonna have to take, you know, an extra math class, but because I went and sat down and talked to her, she explained to me that no, because you're core complete at Kennesaw State University, that means you're core complete here, so we don't care what classes it took for you to become core complete at Kennesaw. And that was something that I found nowhere on the website and didn't even come up when I was like on the phone talking to these people. So there is something about going and sitting down, if it's possible, or even if it's like asking if you can Skype or have a FaceTime appointment, like that made a really big difference for me, because I didn't know that. Especially if you're going to your freshman year somewhere else and you want to transfer, make sure that you're on the phone, like saying like, hey, I signed up for this, and this class for like this semester. I see it's transferable for your school. Can we go over this together just to make sure that these are credits that would transfer? The next thing that I have that might kind of easily be forgotten about is make sure that you figure out your housing. So as soon as you get into whatever school you want, you've decided where you want to go, you've applied, you've gotten in, the first thing you need to do after that is make sure you have your housing figured out. A lot of times you apply and you get in like mid to late spring, and then you're going to that school in the fall. And a lot of people have already signed up for their housing back in December or January. So people already have housing. So make sure you are looking up places to live, even if on the trips where you're going to, like I said before, go up and visit people and talk to them. Take some time and visit some apartment complexes that you looked up to see if there's someone you'd like to live, and talk to them about their roommate matching services and whatnot. But just make sure you get your housing squared away, because the last thing you want to do is get in there, get excited, and get to the summer and realize like, I don't have somewhere to live, and it would be really hard. So right after you get that admission, look for housing. My last piece of advice is to look up clubs to join for when you get there in the fall. You transfer into a school, people have already met people from freshman year, they already kind of have their friend groups. Whether or not that changes, they have people that they're looking forward to meeting and seeing again in the fall. So you have to make sure you're really putting yourself out there and joining things that are of your interest to meet other people like you. And then also look and join clubs that have to do with your major. That helps in several ways. You can start getting your feet wet with doing things in the major, meeting professors in the major, meeting people who are in your major. If you go into a school guns blazing, you're only gonna get out of it what you put into it, so make sure you put your all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that my advice helped. If you have any other questions or you're confused about something, please leave it down in the comments. Like, I love talking about school and advice and things like that, because it feels good to talk to someone else who's been through it as well. So make sure to comment down below any other questions you have, and I will do my best to answer it. But thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you later, lovelies. Bye.